I never believed in monsters until I found one living in my apartment. At first I thought it was just my imagination. Strange noises in the night, objects moved from where I left them. But then, I saw it. And now it won't let me leave. It started 3 weeks ago when I moved into my new apartment in Tokyo. The rent was suspiciously cheap for such a nice place, but I didn't question it. I was just happy to find something affordable in the city. The landlord was an elderly man who barely spoke during the viewing. He just nodded a lot and handed me the keys with trembling hands. The first few nights were peaceful. I was settling in, arranging my furniture, making the place feel like home. Then came the sounds. Soft at first, like fingernails gently scratching against wood. I dismissed it as pipes or neighbors. Old buildings make noise, right? By the end of the first week, I noticed small things out of place. My coffee mug on the opposite side of the table, my shoes facing the wrong direction in the entryway, my toothbrush wet when I hadn't used it. Nothing alarming enough to panic about, but enough to make me question my memory. Then came the night I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. to the sound of breathing that wasn't my own. It was raspy and wet, like someone breathing through a mouthful of liquid. I lay perfectly still, eyes wide open in the darkness, listening as it moved around my bedroom. I convinced myself it was just a dream and forced myself back to sleep. The next morning, I found tiny wet footprints leading from my bedroom to the bathroom sink. They were too small to be human, with strange elongated toes. They disappeared halfway across the floor, as if whatever made them had simply vanished. I called my landlord that day.
Excuse me, sir. I've been experiencing some strange things in the apartment. Is there anything I should know about the place?
What kind of strange things?
Noises at night, things moving around, and footprints. Small, wet footprints.
There was a long silence on the other end of the line.
It's an old building, probably just settling. Or maybe...
These weren't mice footprints. They looked... I don't know how to describe them.
Have you been leaving food out? Sometimes animals get in if you leave food out.
He was deflecting, and I knew it, but I didn't push further. What was I going to say? That I thought a monster was living in my apartment? He'd think I was crazy. That night, I set up my phone to record while I slept. In the morning, I reviewed the footage with shaking hands. For most of the recording, there was nothing. Just the dark outline of my room and the occasional sound of me turning in my sleep. But at exactly 3:17 a.m., there was a distortion in the video. The image became fuzzy, like static on an old TV. And there was that breathing again, louder this time. I decided to do some research. I spent hours online searching for information about Japanese folklore and supernatural entities. That's when I first came across the term yokai, supernatural creatures from Japanese mythology. Some were malevolent, others merely mischievous. They could take many forms: animals, objects, or even elements like water or fire. One particular yokai caught my attention, the Azuki Yarai, a small creature that was known for washing azuki beans in rivers at night, making strange washing sounds. It was said to leave wet footprints. But what would it be doing in my apartment, far from any river? I went to a local bookstore and found an old man who's certified in folklore books.
Do you have anything about yokai that might live in homes, specifically ones that might leave wet footprints?
You have a visitor, do you?
His casual tone caught me off guard.
What do you mean?
Many apartments in Tokyo have residents that were there long before humans built over their homes. They don't mean harm usually, they're just territorial.
So what should I do?
Show respect. Leave small offerings, sweet rice, fresh water. Acknowledge its presence, but don't challenge it. And whatever you do, don't try to capture it or take its picture directly.
I bought several books and hurried home. That evening, I placed a small bowl of sweet rice, and a cup of water in the corner of my kitchen.
I mean no disrespect, this is your home too. I just want to live here peacefully.
I felt ridiculous talking to an empty room, but I did it anyway. That night, I slept better than I had in days. No strange noises, no feeling of being watched. In the morning, the rice and water were gone. For a few days, things were calm. I continued leaving small offerings, and they continued to disappear overnight. I started to think maybe this arrangement could work. Then I made a mistake. I had a friend over for dinner. I hadn't told anyone about my unusual roommate. How could I without sounding insane? We were drinking beer and watching a movie when she needed to use the bathroom.
Your bathroom is weird. Why is the sink always wet?
What do you mean?
It's like someone just splashed water all over it. And what's with these little bowls of food in the corners? Are you feeding mice or something?
I made up some excuse about a leaky faucet and old superstitions. She seemed to accept it, but I could tell she thought I was strange. After she left, I felt a heaviness in the air, like the atmosphere itself had thickened with disapproval. That night, I woke to the sound of my kitchen cabinets opening and closing violently. Dishes crashed to the floor. I jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen, flipping on the light. Everything was in disarray. Cabinets open, food spilled across counters, dishes broken on the floor. And there, crouched on top of my refrigerator, was something I can only describe as a nightmare. It was small, about the size of a child, with glistening gray-blue skin that looked perpetually wet. Its limbs were too long for its body, fingers ending in what looked like tiny suction cups. Its face was the worst part, no nose, just two black holes where nostrils should be, and a wide mouth filled with needle-like teeth. Its eyes were entirely black, reflecting the kitchen light like pools of oil. We stared at each other for what felt like an eternity. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then it spoke, its voice like water bubbling over rocks.
You brought an outsider. You showed disrespect.
I found my voice somehow.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. She's gone now. It won't happen again.
This is my home. I was here first. For centuries before your buildings, before your roads, this land was mine.
I understand. We can share it. I've been leaving offerings, haven't I?
It tilted its head, studying me with those black eyes.
Not enough, never enough. You humans take and take and take.
It moved, then, faster than I could track, skittering across the ceiling and disappearing into the bathroom. I heard water running, then silence. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. In the morning, I called my landlord again.
I need to break my lease. I can't stay here anymore.
That's not possible. You signed for 1 year.
There's something in this apartment, something not human.
There was that silence again, longer this time.
Did it speak to you?
Yes.
Then you're already bound to it. Moving won't help. It will follow you now.
What? That can't be true.
My family has owned this building for generations. We are the caretakers, not the owners. The true owner is what you call a yokai. It allows us to rent these spaces as long as we find suitable companions for it.
Companions? What does that mean?
It gets lonely. It needs someone to acknowledge it, to see it. Most people sense something and leave quickly. You've lasted longer than most. You've communicated with it. That means it's chosen you.
I hung up, my mind racing. I needed to get out of there. I packed a bag, planning to go to a hotel until I could figure out what to do. But when I tried to open my front door, the handle wouldn't turn. It wasn't locked, it simply wouldn't move, as if it had been fused shut. I tried the windows next. They wouldn't open either. I was trapped. For days, I lived in a strange coexistence with the creature. It would appear randomly, in the bathroom mirror while I was brushing my teeth, sitting on my kitchen counter when I went for a midnight snack, or perched at the foot of my bed when I woke up. It never tried to harm me physically, but its presence was a constant psychological weight. I continued my research, desperate for a solution. I learned that some yokai could be appeased or even befriended. Others needed to be exorcised by Shinto priests. But how could I get help when I couldn't leave my apartment? One night, about 2 weeks after our first direct encounter, I woke to find it sitting on my chest, its face inches from mine. Its weight was surprising, like a wet sandbag pressing down on me.
You still want to leave.
I can't live like this in fear.
Not fear, respect. There is a difference.
Then tell me what you want. What will make you happy so we can both live here peacefully?
It leaned closer, its breath smelling like pond water and decay.
Recognition. Humans built over my home, drove away the water I loved, covered the earth with concrete. But they never acknowledged me. They pretended I didn't exist. You see me. You speak to me. That is valuable.
An idea formed in my mind.
What if I told your story? What if I made sure people knew about you, remembered you?
Its black eyes widen slightly.
How?
I'm a writer. I can write about you, share your story online where thousands of people might read it. They would know you exist.
It was silent for a long time, considering.
You would do this, truthfully?
Yes, but I need to be able to leave sometimes, to live my life. I promise I'll come back. This can be our home, but I can't be a prisoner.
It slid off my chest, moving to the corner of the room where it crouched, watching me.
If you break your promise, I will find you, and I will take back what is mine.
What does that mean?
Your eyes, so you can see me forever.
A chill ran down my spine, but I nodded.
I won't break my promise.
The next morning, my front door opened easily. I went outside for the first time in days, breathing in the fresh air. But I felt it watching me, even in the bright sunlight. I knew it was waiting for me to fulfill my end of the bargain. So here I am, sharing this story as promised. I've been researching more about the yokai in my apartment. I believe it's a type of Mizuchi, a water deity displaced by urban development. They were once worshipped, but now they're forgotten, forced to adapt to a world of concrete and steel. I still leave offerings, not out of fear, but respect. It still moves my things and sometimes watches me sleep. But we've reached an understanding. This is its home. I'm just a temporary resident. If you're renting an unusually cheap apartment in an old building, and you start noticing small things out of place, pay attention. Leave a small offering. Sweet rice, fresh water, maybe some fruit. Acknowledge the presence that was there long before you. Because once they reveal themselves to you, once they speak to you, you're bound to them, and they don't let go easily. I have to go now. It's almost 3:17 a.m., and it gets agitated if I'm not in bed by then. It likes to count my breaths as I fall asleep. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes I wonder what will happen when my lease is truly up. Will it let me leave for good? Or will I be bound to this place? To it? Forever? I guess I'll find out soon enough. For now, I keep my eyes open, and I remember to show respect. Because in this apartment, I'm not the only one watching.